listening to Octagon 24/7's podcast, MMA Fancast. It's MMA for the fans, by the fans. We talk about only the important things you want to hear.
Hey, this is Mike Goldberg, the voice of Bellator MMA on Spike. Join us right now for MMA Fancast.
Hello and welcome back to MMA Fancast, brought to you by Octagon 24/7. I am your host, Ryan Middleton, and I am joined by the living legend, Jim Sahara Mooney. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is a big episode of MMA Fancast, a landmark episode, if you will. It is episode 50. Episode 50. You guys have put up with us for 50 episodes now, and I am happy to say that we have quite a show for you today. We are going to take a look at what lays in store for us for the rest of what are the big fights that are left this year in 2017. How are we going to close out this year? We'll look ahead to what the MMA world has left for us, and also in this very special episode, we are going to talk with, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Scott Clymer, who made his pro MMA debut, I might add. His pro MMA debut, he got to debut in Bellator. And so not many people get to say, oh, yeah, I turned pro and had my first pro fight in Bellator. But Scott Clymer got to do that, and not only do that, he won in convincing fashion. And so we had a chance to talk to him. We have that interview for you. And also we have Octagon 24/7's favorite fighter. He's always been very kind.
One of.
Well, I would say he's my favorite because he really wants to beat the crap out of you. And so
bring it on.
That's what makes me like him so much. Dominic Mazzotta, who also had a fight at Bellator 186, same night as Scott Clymer. He was headlined the prelim card and did an absolutely fabulous job. One of the most dominating victories. Both of those guys just completely dominated. We have both of them here for you tonight on MMA Fancast. Ladies and gentlemen, my man Jim Sahara Mooney.
What's up? I am excited to hear both those interviews. We've talked to Dom a number of times. I'm definitely excited to hear how your interview went with Scott Clymer. I was able to hook up with him on Facebook and Messenger, and just what I've seen out there, what we saw in the ring, in the cage. This guy seems like a good guy, and I'm anxious to hear what he had to say.
Yeah, he's a real good guy. He was real excited, and he's just really excited to be doing what he's doing, and kind of came unexpectedly, and we'll hear more about that. But I want to talk about what MMA has in store for us for the rest of this year. First, this weekend. So Jim, I wanted to talk to you about this because this is something we've kind of talked about. Kelvin Gastelum has a fight. He was originally supposed to fight Anderson Silva, and then Anderson Silva could not stop injecting or putting drugs into his body. So he is no longer on that card. Michael Bisping jumps in. See, I like challenger Michael Bisping better than I like champion Michael Bisping.
I agree.
Challenger Michael Bisping jumps in the cage at the drop of a hat. Champion Michael Bisping wants to fight the lowest ranked guys he could possibly find and try to hold on to the belt. But anyway, Kelvin Gastelum, Michael Bisping. I know Kelvin Gastelum. I know this fight's in China. And actually, the main card starts at 7 a.m. in the U.S. And I know they don't celebrate Thanksgiving in China, but Kelvin Gastelum's American, and he is going to eat on Thanksgiving. And he's going to I'm just saying. He's going to have to weigh in at some point, and I would not be surprised if Kelvin Gastelum struggles on the scale.
Yeah, I thought you were going somewhere else with a prediction. But yeah, he has struggled in the past to the point where he's like, you know what? I'm not even coming down, guys. That scale is not going to be flattering to my waistline.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get on the scale. New York City.
UFC 205.
Yeah, it was only the biggest fight card in, MMA history, or close to it anyway. So that is this upcoming Saturday morning, which is a kind of a cool. I kind of like that. I think I'm more inclined to watch more of the card because I can get up early and just start watching some MMA before the day kicks off.
There's a couple other fights on there that I'm interested to see, but I know we're not getting into predictions on this, but this is an interesting matchup for me. Not two that I'd ever pictured facing off against each other, but I'm anxious to see this fight.
Yeah. So you said, I know we're not getting into predictions, and then it seemed like you still wanted to give one.
No, I will if you want, but I don't know if we have time for it on this show.
Yeah, I don't think we do have time to get into predictions, but my one prediction is Gastelum spends some of his money on Michael Bisping, about maybe 20% of it. That's my prediction. He does not make weight. Just going out on a limb here.
It could be. I didn't even think of the Thanksgiving factor.
Yeah, I think they figured, hey, if we send him to China, he can't screw that up. We don't even celebrate Thanksgiving in China. Kelvin Gastelum will.
I don't know if he's ever been to China before, but I'm just going to, talk from my point of view. I've never been to China before. If I was going, this is my first time, I would definitely want to sample the food there, authentic Chinese cuisine. And this guy is known for having trouble making weight. There's got to be temptations that are going to be in his way. Maybe
they're planning on this fight taking place at 205 instead of 185.
Or you know what? It very well could be something in the works where they've got both camps talking. No, but I'm just saying, it could be that it might end up being a catch weight because if
never know.
Right? Yeah, if they drop that fight, that card is a bust.
Oh yeah, for the Chinese fans, it's fine, but for the U.S. audience, let's be honest, they're not really catering to the U.S. audience anyway. It's only available on Fight Pass, I think. So it is what it is. Okay, so then the next big fights are on December 2nd. We have a massive card. UFC 218, I think, is one of the better cards of the year. Max Holloway and Jose Aldo for the featherweight title is the main event. And we got Francis Ngannou versus Alistair Overeem in the co-main. You got Henry Cejudo and Sergio Pettis. You got Eddie Alvarez and Justin Gaethje, and you got Tisha Torres and Michelle Waterson. That is the main card, and that is it doesn't have, it has huge names, but it's not like huge names like New York City huge names. But I think the fights on this main card are right up there with any fights. These are all guys that are like top 5 guys. Yeah,
just take into account the Alvarez and Gaethje fight and where that sits on the card. To start off the night, it's the second fight, leading up to the main event on the main card. Eddie Alvarez at 205 was the main event, and now he is number 2, or should I say he's the 4 in the 4 slot.
Yeah, it's I really like this card. I think it's a great card. And so here's some that Felder fight. I did so on the prelims, Paul Felder is fighting Al Iaquinta, and that is a slobber knocker. It's unbelievable that's a prelim fight.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Slobber knocker.
Slobber knocker. And David Tamer fights Drakkar Klose, and that should be a very good fight. David Tamer, if you remember, him and why can't I think of his name? Lando Venata had a ridiculously good fight at UFC 209, and Venata is one of my, one of the guys I really look forward to seeing. And Tamer hung in there with him and won the fight, and it was a great fight. So I look forward to seeing him fight again. So UFC 218, I believe, could hang in there with any of the best fight cards of the year as far as like fights. Maybe not as much star power, superstar power, but as far as like great fights, right up there with anything.
Yeah, and Venata is the one who gave Tony Ferguson all he could handle, and if it was, I'd say he was 5-10 seconds from
in that first
ending
round,
that fight. Yeah,
and that was a short notice fight for Venata.
Mm-hmm.
That was his UFC debut where he just shocked everyone and gave him all he could handle.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like. I expect Holloway. I mean, just going through the card. I know we didn't say official predictions, but just to run through it real quick, I think Holloway retains the belt. I really would like to see Ngannou last the first 4 minutes, and I think that it becomes his fight. I know that goes against all logic in the sense that Overeem's more experienced, and that should favor him. But I think his gas tank, first 4 minutes, he has a lot, and then he just wears down quickly.
Yeah, this is a fight that to me it's like a rerun. I've seen it before, just with two different fighters. We talked before about I don't know how to put this other than maybe not necessarily star power, but the heavyweight division is lacking something. Who is standing in Stipe's way? That's a real challenge. Obviously, we know anything can happen in MMA, but what's this fight for?
Well, and that's exactly what I would like. Stipe doesn't have an interesting fight that really gets me going unless it's Ngannou. If Ngannou wins this fight, then I think that's a great matchup and something exciting that I really want to see. Anything else, I'm not super excited about.
Yeah, I did hear a rumor that Stipe is supposed to be fighting sometime in early 2018.
How early?
I thought it was February or March.
Well, if he's fighting in March, then that could be against Ngannou if he wins this fight. That's only right. That gives him 3 months. Yeah. So Cejudo Pettis, I think, is a great fight. That one's a pick'em to me. I think either one of these. I think Sergio Pettis is the better fighting Pettis brother. I think,
at this point,
yes, yeah,
100%.
Alvarez Gaethje, that could literally be fight that has fight of the night written all over it, and who knows, it could end up being if Alvarez decides to take him down, then it could end up being not as exciting. But if they could both slug it out, and that could be just a war.
Well, so one thing that he's got going in his favor is he's fighting an orthodox fighter instead of a southpaw, like we saw and heard him talk about his fight against McGregor. And he said all through his camp, they talked about talked about going right, to stay away from away from his left.
Yeah.
And he went the opposite and moved into his left. So it was actually go left, circle left, and he did the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
So in this fight, I think you hit the nail on the head. What he needs to do is use his wrestling and take the fight to the ground where he should have success.
As much as that is from a game plan standpoint for a smart fight for him, I think that's it. But if we want to give the fans what they want to see, let's just go out there and bang. And that's what I want to see. I mean, I don't think that's his best chance of winning, but I think that he could certainly win as well that way. Moving on, the next big fight we have is December 16th. There's a UFC on Fox card, and it's Robbie Lawler versus Rafael dos Anjos. What do you call him? Rafael DA or something?
Rafael DA, yeah.
Rafael DA, yeah. And
that's what he refers to himself as.
Yeah.
Rafael DA.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that fight, brah?
I think we've seen the best of RDA.
See, I was going to say the same thing about Lawler.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, one of us will be right. Hopefully, we're both wrong, and we see what you said before. Just go out there and bang. Which Lawler is all for that. That's his, preferred fight style, or he won't back down from it. But I think that RDA he's got some good fights left in him. I don't think he's got what Lawler is going to bring to the table that night.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight. I think that I think it could go either way. I think whoever's able to implement their game plan will win the fight. I think Rafael dos Anjos has some pretty sick ground and pound and jiu-jitsu, and when he decides that should be his game plan, then he's fairly unstoppable. So I would tend to lean towards dos Anjos, but that would be my pick. Also on that card, this is the card that Jose Aldo was supposed to be on. So I think Ricardo Lamas is still looking for a fight. So he has no opponent yet.
Wait, isn't that Dana White looking for a fight?
No, it's actually Ricardo Lamas.
Speaking of fights, we did pass one up. That's Swanson and Ortega.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, I wasn't even going to jump into that because I don't consider that like a huge, a big fight. I mean, I don't think Swanson does either. He's not real happy about it. So it's a chance to headline a card, right?
It is for him, yeah, but I don't think he looks at those situations as, hey, I'm headlining. I think he wants to look at, hey, I'm fighting for the title.
Well, yeah.
What did you say his quote was?
I don't remember. Something about they must not think I'm all that good or something.
Yeah.
But who is on that card, who we just saw live and in person in Pittsburgh, is Mike Perry. Mike Perry was supposed to fight Thiago Alves on the Pittsburgh card, September 16th, and now he ended up getting a late replacement fight against a new UFC newcomer, so it didn't really boost him up the rankings like he wanted to have that Alves fight. And so he gets a top 10 ranked fighter, Santiago Ponzinibbio. See, I need to hear it before I can pronounce it.
No, I think you should just go with it. You are much better off when you just let it roll. Just let it roll.
Whatever, Sarah.
Khabib.
So what do you think of Mike Perry in this fight?
After seeing what he did to the black belt jiu-jitsu guy, it was like it didn't matter what he had. And he even I remember watching the open workouts interview, and he was hoping that this guy was all that they had, that he was cracked up to be. People were really hyping up his late fill-in opponent, and he was looking for a tough fight. and hoping for that, but he mauled him.
Yeah.
I think he, felled him out for, maybe 30 seconds and then figured out, what, this guy's not going to bring it to me. I'm just going to take him out.
And now we'll jump ahead to the UFC 219 card, which is Saturday, December 30th. It is the final UFC card of the year, and their, annual, not quite New Year's Eve, but last Friday or Saturday night in the UFC. I don't know why. I think they would have success with the New Year's Eve card. I don't know why they don't do it. Just do a New Year's Eve card. Everyone who's interested in combat sports will be sitting around a TV, like consuming adult beverages, and they would watch UFC. I don't understand.
Well, I think it has to do with number of pay-per-view buys, and with it going past midnight, that to some people's nostalgic, and they don't want to miss that. Watching the.
Well, maybe you have an earlier card then.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
11.
Yeah. There's football games, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you look back at the Pride days, and Pride ran New Year's Eve cards, and they did okay. This was before MMA took off, and they did okay in the U.S. People watched it. People got excited about it. MMA, there was really diehards, but I still think that it would be great. Anyway, December 30th, UFC 219. We believe the headlining fight is going to be Cyborg versus Holm, but they could add another fight to that, still to be determined if they do or not.
Yeah, and is that the one that they're talking about, Ferguson?
Yeah.
Possibly headlining.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's going to be another fight added to that. That's the big card. I
think that the fight that they're talking about is Woodley and Diaz.
That's right. I did see something about Woodley just said something recently about Diaz being afraid to fight him or something along those lines.
I'm pretty sure Nate Diaz isn't afraid of much, but I don't think it's like a great matchup for him. I think he's kind of struggled with guys that can hold him on the ground and, and avoid submissions. So, yeah, I mean, a real strong wrestler. I don't think he's afraid of him. I just think it wouldn't be an ideal matchup for him. But, I don't think he would hesitate to take the fight if the money was right.
Yeah, well, supposedly there is some negotiations in the works right now, and they're running out of time. On the positive side, we know that Diaz is somebody he's in fight shape pretty much year round, and he's ready.
Well, he's in good shape. I don't know if he's in fight shape, but he's in good enough shape anyway. He can. Who knows? So. Let's talk about what we know is going to happen, and that's Holly Holm and Chris Cyborg. Some people are calling this the greatest women's fight booking in history. What are your thoughts?
This is an interesting fight. Knowing what we know about Holly Holm and what we've seen her do when she's focused, this could be a potentially tough fight for Cyborg. I just don't know if we're going to see the Holly Holm versus Rousey fighter, or if it's going to be when she got choked out and lost the belt. And
see, she just strikes me as someone who's like far too passive. Like she does not.
She's reactive.
Not aggressive.
She's reactive.
Yeah. So I see. If she can get past that first couple minutes without taking any serious damage, I see that the longer it lasts, the more it favors her.
Well, she's got to use her kickboxing skills. That's really what is going to set her up for the rest of the fight. If somehow she can keep her way with kicks and set her up that way, there could be a positive outcome, but that's going to be key to keeping Cyborg at a distance instead of, I don't think she wants to get in there and do the dirty boxing.
I just don't know. Honestly, I don't know that Cyborg has looked the same to me as she did like a couple years back before, massive testing came around. I just, her aggressiveness doesn't seem the same. I mean, she fought a soccer mom and or like an aerobics instructor. I don't know. It just didn't seem like she was the same person to me. I thought 4 or 5 years ago she would have just annihilated that woman.
Agreed. She's not the same fighter, obviously. Time, will take its toll on you, but it just, I still see her as, she's got that mystique right now. The same thing that Rousey did for a long time. And, people came to see Rousey for 2 reasons. One, to see how quick she could possibly end the fight. And then it was also like going to a NASCAR race, and you want to see, is there going to be a crash, some type of big wreck? And what's the wreck? Is, Rousey going to lose? Ultimately, we saw that. And I think that, Cyborg has that mystique, and is there anybody that can stand toe-to-toe with her? That's part of the attraction with her right now. I mean, she still is relatively new to the UFC.
Yep. Well, I mean, she has superstar potential. They got to figure out how to build her up, and I think that regardless, I think this is a win-win for the UFC. Whoever wins, it's a win. It's good for them. Moving on to the next fight, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Edson Barbosa. This should be a very good fight.
Khabib.
Whatever. You got Jimmy Rivera, who's still looking for an opponent after Dominic Cruz had to drop out. Carlos Condit, Neil Magny's a great fight. This is another very good card, and if they even add another fight, there's 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 fights scheduled on the card. They have room to add maybe another one with that. A very good card. I still think 218's better card, but they're both very good cards to have the pay-per-views in December.
Yeah, well, this card is one of those. This is like the 206 card where, maybe it didn't have the name recognition that was there. That's one where we had Cub Swanson and Doo Ho Choi. And it was, I think, 3 fights in a row where we had guys just going at it toe-to-toe. But they weren't, big household names outside of, the UFC hardcore MMA fans. But Kamaru Usman is on this one. He's taking on Evan Meek, Roundtree, and Gokhan Saki. That one, to me, is a pretty interesting fight. And then I can never pronounce. This is one that gives me trouble. Is it Diakis?
Sure, if that's what you say. His name's Bone Crusher. Like, why would you need anything else? It's Bone Crusher.
Right. Okay, he's facing off against the Hangman. So,
well, I mean, the Hangman could crush some bones,
Right.
So, yeah, it's a good card. I don't know that it's as good as 218, but it's still a great card. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of 2017. I think the UFC is closing it out well. I don't see any other big fights outside of the UFC. I don't see any big Bellator fights. I don't see any big fights from any of the other organizations. And so, yeah, it's exciting. What the UFC has left is exciting. And so that pretty much runs that out. What do you think, Sahara?
I agree. I think they're finishing off in a positive direction. Obviously, I'd like to see another fight added to that 219 card, but
yeah,
as it stands right now, it's still a pretty good card.
So Scott Clymer, what a good guy. I had the opportunity to sit down and talk to him earlier, and got to learn a lot about him, and his excitement, his joy is contagious. So let's listen into that right now. MMA Fancast is here with Scott Clymer, who made his Bellator and Pro MMA debut at Bellator 186 in State College, Pennsylvania. Scott, thanks so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So, Scott, we saw really a great and dominating performance out of you in your debut. How did it feel? I mean, you made your debut the right way at the big show.
It surreal. Still kind of reminiscent about it a little bit. You know, I had Bellator just had another event on Friday night. You know, watching it on TV, and it was kind of cool because like we were just there. You know, 2 weeks ago, and it was nuts. And you know, of course, in the moment, you're just wanting to win. You know, you just go in there trying to think positive. But yeah, it literally went perfect. Every aspect of it went couldn't have got any better.
Yeah. So, do you visualize your fights?
Yeah, that's it's pretty crucial. Jordan Steiner and Dan Smedberg, two of the three guys that were in my corner, preach it. You know what I mean? Not eat, sleep, and you know, breathe it, but you know, think about it. You know, think about the situations, and drilling is very important. But in college, our college coach said the same thing with wrestling. You know, think about your reactions, and when you're in a scenario in a tight spot, what are you going to do to get out of it? And then it just becomes instinct, and that's what Jordan says. If you think about it enough, you're going to do it without thinking. And so everything that we do is repetition, whether we're actually physically doing it or thinking it.
Yeah. So this was, you know, a big show. Most people, and by most people, I mean almost nobody makes their MMA debut in Bellator, or, you know, they usually start off in a small local circuit and they're in front of, you know, 50 guys in a cloudy room. Right. So talk to me about the experience of being at a big show at a big deal with fighters that you've probably spent some time looking up to, with, you know, like Ryan Baders and Phil Davis, and, you know, talk to me about the experience of it all.
Well, Jordan, he laughed. You know, we get put up in a hotel. You know, they give us a little per diem money. You get a banner, you get a shirt, and he just laughed because he went through the ringer as far as, you know, changing in a broom closet at a high school and fighting in front of 25 people. And he's like, you're getting spoiled, you know? And yeah, being there, cutting weight, sitting in the hot tub the night before weigh-ins, and walks Robbie Lawler, you know? And it's just like, you know, Robbie Lawler, you know? And so it's really hard to kind of carry that, I'm an athlete with you guys too, and not be like a fan. But you know, I got a picture with all of them, you know, and just soaking it up. But yeah, I'm blessed, very lucky. You know, the way we actually got that to happen, the ball rolling there, is I went and lived in California for a year and a half in San Jose, and I got to know Jaina Stoico, who works with Bellator, very well, because we merged with her and Kung Lee's gym, and so I got to know Jane on a very good level. And so when I saw online that they were going to be coming to State College, I texted her and was like, hey, is there any way we could get some free tickets or some discounted tickets? We just want to come watch, you know? And so her response immediately is, are you pro yet? And I was like, no, still, you know, 3 amateur fights. And she was like, okay. And that's all I heard, you know? And then she kept talking to my gym, you know, coach, and then Ryan Kerwin, who runs and operates XCC, and they made it happen. You know, the commission was on board with it. They know we had a good college wrestling experience, and so I wasn't shy to the limelight and the big crowd. So, yeah, it was an opportunity that we realized wasn't going to happen that great again, and it was like, you know, we're all in.
That's great. Speaking of Ryan Kerwin, I think you have an announcement that, you know, you might want to spread that news right now.
Yeah, we got another one lined up February 17th at the Philadelphia Armory, and yeah, we're gonna try and keep cushioning that win column. You know, we didn't suffer any damage. And, you know, like he said, you know, don't get complacent. You don't want to fall into a place like, oh, we'll take some time off. while the iron's hot, you keep running with it. And so we lined that up right away. And they have an idea of an opponent right now, but that could change. 3 months is a lot of time for a lot of things to go wrong or happen. So as of right now, February 17th, again at the Philadelphia Armory in Philly, and I'm excited. A little closer to home, so hopefully have a little bit bigger of a crowd. And we still had a great showing out of State College. Again, it was perfect. Everything went great, and it's hard to ask for more, at this point,
Yeah.
So take it as it comes.
So question. Well, I have a bunch of questions now.
Let them rip.
So you said February 17th. I saw somewhere else February 3rd. Did that date change or something?
Yeah. Maybe I got that wrong.
I thought I saw February 3rd, but I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, he right here. We got that booked February 17th.
Okay.
No, it did get changed to the 3rd. I read that text wrong. He had booked it for the 17th, but it got changed to the 3rd because of a gun show. There you go. Thanks for that correction.
No problem. So February 3rd,
Yes.
Scott Clymer will be making his second MMA fight in Philadelphia.
Yes.
So I'll help you out with that, dude.
You man. You're the pro here.
No problem. Okay, so you fought at a catchweight for this fight.
Yes.
And you have previously fought at 45.
55.
Okay, so and you fought this at those were amateur fights though. Are you going to fight pro at 45, 55? Where are you going to be at?
Well, when you wrestle and you cut weight as long as I have, you got to get to a point where it's like, yeah, we're done with that, And so 55 was easy. And I'm not an idiot, I see these UFC guys walking around at 180, 185, and they're cutting to 55. Soaking wet, I might hit 170. I don't want to cut the 45, and so got down to about the 53, 54 mark. And it really wasn't that bad. And like I said, we sat in the hot tub twice Wednesday night, and I actually got down to 46, and it was really easy. It kind of cracked that barrier a little bit. Last time I weighed 146 was 2011 when I was wrestling 149 in college, and so I kind of shocked myself a little bit. And again, my coaches just smiled because they know, they said that like you're a 45 pounder, and so after seeing that and feeling it, and I felt great. It was just like it was a no-brainer, and you want to take it a little bit serious. You got to make a little bit more sacrifice. So 45 is where I will be competing and running with that. So
that's
why
great.
it was at 150, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so
I'm not sure why it was at 50.
So they offered you that when Bellator offered you the fight. Did they originally offer it at 150 at catchweight?
Yes, yeah, that was I don't know if Mike Putnam got a little heavy, because he hadn't fought in a little while. And I know he, through his interviews and articles that I've been reading, he was trying to make his way back down to 45. And I think in one of the articles I actually read, he was trying to maybe go 35. So I don't know if that was like well, you're just coming back, so we'll make it at 150, make it easy on both of you. So, but yeah, it worked out in our favor.
Yeah. So when Scott, when I was checking you out, I pulled up your Twitter, and I got to tell you, your Twitter made me very, very happy and made me a fan because I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm a fellow Christian. My full-time gig is in ministry, and so yeah. So I'm in full-time ministry, and so this is our little side thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when I saw your, your bio and like how seriously you take your faith and that, it was very encouraging to me. And so, yeah, chalk one up in the fan club.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Love seeing a fellow brother of Christ, in the cage and fighting for, someone to, represent, right?
I love it. I can't watch Benson Henderson's walkout song enough. I mean, that doesn't give you chills. I don't know what does, yeah, no, I love it. I love hearing fighters after they win. First and foremost, they give the glory to God immediately. I mean, it's without hesitation. And you see that in the passion, like the passion of their competing, and they realize, it could go south very quickly, and there is a lot to it, and it is a blessing to be able to compete doing what we're doing, and it can be taken away very, very quickly. And so to take that lightly would be a foolish thing to do. So yeah, we have a platform, and it's crazy. And so when it does stand out to the right people, it's huge, so we're very blessed. Again, blessed. We're blessed to have this opportunity.
Amen. When did you start wrestling, Scott?
We started wrestling in 5th grade. Me and my brother Ben. We started wrestling in 5th grade. We did every sport. Before that, my dad was a big time athlete himself. He came from a small Christian school, Faith Christian Academy, where my brother now coaches and teaches. He did soccer, baseball, and basketball, and was very successful with all three. He actually played baseball back in the day in like the Connie Mack League with Jamie Moyer. So like he came up with like a lot of the good ones, and they didn't have wrestling, they didn't have football, and of course as we came along, we did the football, we did the soccer, we did everything. And my grandfather, who actually started coaching for Penn Ridge Junior High and then later on the high school, he taught himself how to teach and coach by reading books. They had a vacant position for the junior high, and they were just like, hey, you want it? And so that's how he started getting into it. So he actually suggested to my father, you should make these guys wrestle a year and see how it goes. So it was an experiment, and we both took to it immediately and really never looked back.
So you immediately liked wrestling?
Yes.
Oh, I wish I could say the same about my boys. They would quit in a heartbeat if I let them, but I don't.
Stick with it, man. I got a 12-year-old brother, and every year he says the same thing. He's like, I quit. I'm not doing it again.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't have the dad growing up to push me to do it, and I regretted it all the time. I wish I would have grown up wrestling. I wrestled for 2 years or a year and a half or something, and then my parents split, and I didn't have that dad to say, no, you're wrestling, period.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm that dad now.
That's it. Well, he was very not pushy, but he understood baseball. He knew soccer, and so those are the sports where he was a little bit more adamant about. Wrestling was he had no idea. He couldn't tell you what a switch was or an escape or a takedown. So he was very hands-off, and I think that made that a little easier. And obviously once we kept finding success and he understood it more, then the younger brothers got pushed on a little bit more. So he gained a lot of knowledge through the years, and so he did it right.
Yeah. So then you move on to, did you get a scholarship, wrestling scholarship to Liberty?
I did. Coach Castro picked me up, and I'm actually going down there in the next 2-3 weeks down there. I'm getting inducted into the Club Hall of Fame down there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped.
I to be honest, the only person that pops into my head from Liberty Athletics is Eric Green. Do you remember Eric Green?
Did he play football at the Packers?
He played football with the Steelers. The
Steelers, the
team on the good side of the state.
There you go. The good guys. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a big, huge tight end. He was pretty unbelievable. But you're probably too young for that. You're what, like 20?
Well, they have, the only reason I know his name is because in the football shrine that they call their locker room, which is impressive, they have the picture of all their guys that went pro. And they have a list of the pro teams that picked them, and yeah, they've put out a few. He
was huge. Let me just tell you, he was like an offensive lineman running down the field. It was unbelievable. So you go to college, you wrestle, and tell us more about how this whole thing came about with MMA, because it's not your traditional entry into MMA.
No. So I finished wrestling at Liberty, and we got Title IX going into my senior year. And so, we got put into this club division, which after being a Division I, especially a wrestler, going to the club division, it is night and day, when it comes to the competition that you're going against, your preparation for it. And so we were left with a really bad taste in our mouth. And for me, my redshirt junior year, I was having an unbelievable year. Justin Gagey, who's now at the UFC, I wrestled him tough and was placing in all the tournaments. And then I got a little sloppy with my academics and became ineligible the second semester. But there was still a really good hype coming into that last year, ranked in the top 15. We're going to have a good team next year. We get cut, and then we go to a club division. So my book, even though it was done, closed with my wrestling, never satisfied that itch of competing. I'm a highly competitive person anyway. So I floated around for a little bit. My dad owns a construction company. I've been working with him since I was 12. And so came back home to PA and just wasn't having it. I was trying to help out coaching here and there. My family's very important to me, but I needed a change of scenery. And so my buddy from college, Eli Sanchez, was from California, and he had been bugging me from 2013 to 2015 every month. You got to come out and visit. You got to come out and visit. You'll love it. So I finally, New Year's Eve, was telling my best friend from college, who was my wrestling partner, about it. And he was like, right now, let's get that ticket, send you out there. So I bought a one-way ticket. 2 weeks later, I left for San Jose, California, and just teach wrestling at their jiu-jitsu gym, Smash Gyms. It was killing it with the wrestling club, loving every minute of it. And Eli's older brother, who started the gym, was like, why don't you put on a gi? And I was like, no. I didn't want to do jiu-jitsu at all. But again, he kind of took over.
Wait. What was it about jiu-jitsu that you really didn't want any parts of?
It was too slow. And it wasn't too technical, because I love being technical in my wrestling.
Yeah.
But it just didn't appeal to me, I guess. But after Rudy kind of pushed it, it was just like, all right, fine, we'll do it. Then you start competing a little bit, and I found success. And it was another competition thing that was like, all right, it comes a little bit natural. It goes hand in hand with wrestling. We're going to run with it. And so for about a year, I took it serious, and we competed and went down to LA and won a tournament down there. And
so what were you competing in?
In the IBJJF.
Okay.
So gi and no gi competitions. And it was a blast. It was one of those things where you knock it at first, and then it's like, all right, it wasn't that bad. And at the time, one of the other instructors there, Manny Rocha, grew up in Stockton with the Diaz brothers, great boxer, trained down at Jackson Winklejohn's in New Mexico at Albuquerque. And Manny just blew my mind with the boxing side of it. I knew the wrestling, and I knew all the little details, and it's a chess match. Every opponent is different. There's so many factors, but then you think you get a good hold on it, and then it's like, well, let's show you jiu-jitsu. And then you start from square one again. And then Manny came in, and me and him would be at the gym all day together, in between classes. And so we'd start hitting mitts, and he would spar with me lightly. And for me, the boxing side of it, I was hooked, and some people are out there for blood. For me, it's just like, it's a never ending cycle of learning. And when things click, you go through the roof in excitement. And I didn't ever fight out there. I got a little heavy. I was about $184, lifting a lot, and so it wouldn't have been good if I did start fighting. But then I came back to PA, and I missed it. So Henzo Gracie in Hatfield, my brother had just started a wrestling team with this new small Christian school that he was with, and they didn't have a wrestling room. So Rich Latta was like, have practices here. So my brother was like, hey, I know you got into the MMA thing out there. We practice at an MMA gym. Come help me coach, and then stick around and fool around afterwards. And hit the ground running with them. And Rich was good. For about 6-7 months, he didn't put the idea to fight in my head. He wanted to see how serious I took it as far as showing up for classes and how much I wanted to be there. And when he thought I was ready, he was like, hey, let's get an amateur fight. And so it was about 1.5 years of California and then about 2 years back in PA, about a 4-year process before we finally took it and ran with it.
So at what point did you realize, like, hey, I'm training to fight mixed martial arts here?
To be blatantly honest, I was just doing it as a hobby. I just I'm a competitive person. I am all over the place, and so it just fit hand in hand with what I was doing, working construction during the day, help coach a little bit afterwards, go in and hit a bag and beat up people, as far as each other. And even after the first 3 amateur fights that I had, it was like one of those things where it's like, in one sense I was praying to be untouched and successful. And at the same time, part of me was like, you give me or show me a reason why I shouldn't be doing this and I'll take it. And that's it, but the reason never came. We kept finding success and we kept staying healthy and you kept meeting these other individuals for contacts and connections. And it was just like, all right, we're going to keep going with it. And then we hit like a year hiatus where I took off and focused on working and then bump into Jane online and the possibility of fighting with Bellator. That is when it kind of hit me like, all right, this is a little bit more serious. But it really hit me when I was standing at the Bryce Jordan Center in the middle of the cage before anybody got into the stadium, and you're looking up and they have the electric billboard banner running around Bellator 186. You're standing in the cage and you're not seeing Jack's Home Fries and Mandy's Water Ice. You're seeing Monster Energy and Burger King and Dave & Buster's, all these big time sponsors that you see through the TV. And I'm standing on it. And that's when it really hit home, like, what an opportunity, and that kind of fueled another fire. It did. It really, really did. So,
but there was not a point where you're training and you're, obviously a very, very high level wrestler. And then you start to learn some jujitsu and then you're throwing some boxing in. There wasn't a point where you're like, whoa, like I'm on my way to MMA.
I mean, there was the thought of it. Yeah. But it was almost like,
were you thinking of it as a hobby or?
Yeah, it was a hobby. And it was like, whenever I was training with people, they were the fighters. I was the wrestler that just happened to be just good enough at everything else that I could give them good looks and good workouts and a good practice partner. And that's just how I thought, that's just how I think. Even to this day, it's like I look at it sometimes and it's like, no, they're the ones that want to make this their career and go full blown. I'm just a body here, and that's kind of how I always do things. I do downplay it. I did it in college with matches, whether it was a Joe Schmo or it was the number one kid in the country. I always kind of put myself on the outside of the bubble. Like, I'm expected to lose. A lot can go wrong. And then from there, everything's just positive, and I don't know if that's the best way to look at it, but it helps me be a little bit more calm. It helps me focus. The realistic, that's the word I'm looking for right there. Realistic. I'm almost too realistic when it comes to that stuff. So realistically, yeah, I'm an MMA fighter, but I just keep downplaying it. It keeps you humble, and yeah.
Well, there's nothing that's going to keep you more humble than training MMA. I mean,
absolutely.
I think those guys, just being around fighters and whatnot, there's a lot of humility in this sport.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just from going to the gym each and every day, and unless you're pretty dynamic, you're going to get beat down at some point.
Well, even when you are the dynamic one, just because you're the most dynamic room in room A, you go across the state, got to talk with all the Pittsburgh guys, Mike Wilkinson and Dom Mazzotta and great Henzo affiliate guys. And they've beaten a lot of our fighters. Mm-hmm. So it's like you can be the king of the castle here, but it's such a small dot compared to what's out there. And I don't care who holds the belt, there is somebody better that will take it. And that's just, if that doesn't humble you, because just when you think you're the best, you're not. and you're reminded of it very quickly. So I love it. I really do.
That's great. I really appreciate your time. I know that you have some people you probably want to thank. You have some sponsors that you had for Bellator 186, and I know you'll be looking for sponsors for your next fight. Are there any shout-outs you want to give or anything like that?
Oh, man, Liberty University, for kind of kicking it off with the college wrestling there. My high school coach that really kind of got it started back in the day, Brian Class. He was a fighter, and we didn't find out until after we all graduated. He was doing it all the way through high school. My brother, Ben Clymer, he's my best friend and probably one of my best workout partners. Jordan Steiner, Dan Smedberg, Rich Latta, the coaches over at Henzo Gracie MMA. But my workout partners. I mean, that's honestly where the success comes from. Dave Roberts beats me every day. You got Joe and Jeremy and Eugene and Mike and Kenzie, all those guys. They're the reason why we're having the success, which is awesome. And then Modern Male Barbershop, you were my first and only sponsor for Bellator 186, giving me the haircut. And we'll try to get a couple more for the next one.
That's great. That's great, dude. It was a pleasure having you and hearing your story and how you've you have an exciting future ahead of you. How old are you?
I'm 29.
29 years old. Wow, man. It's a pretty old guy to be making your debut.
I know. Trust me. I know it.
Hey, look at Randy Couture, man. He started at like 40. It's okay.
I met him in the lobby of the hotel, and it was it was awesome.
He was actually staying in the room right across from me. So
was he really?
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, Randy Couture stays in the same types of room that I do. Yeah, so he's a real good guy.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, just appreciate your time. Look forward to following your career. Keep plugging away, my brother. Don't forget about the other side of the state because we'd love to see you fight out here in Pittsburgh. And
we plan on making a trip out there in the next 2-3 weeks, making a long weekend, getting out to the gym out there, training with everybody, and when we get out there, we'll definitely let you know. Maybe
give me. Are you who's your contact? Are you talking to Isaac or who? Or your coach talking to their coach?
It was the coach. Whoever the coach is for Burrell. He was in everybo's corner.
Lower Burrow. Yeah. Isaac Greeley.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, Greeley. Yep.
He's like the greatest guy, man.
The greatest.
He is.
He remembered us from high school. We wrestled against him all the time at States. So it was really cool to see him there.
That's awesome. I have a buddy that used to wrestle in that wrestle with him as well.
Okay.
That is one of my coaches. I'm the commissioner of a USC youth wrestling.
Nice.
And he's one of the coaches, and he wrestled with Greeley. So
he's a good dude. Yeah, but look
really good guy.
We will.
Cool. Sounds good. Let me know. Give me a shout out when you're here. Maybe we'll get together.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. God bless. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, brother. God bless. I was also able to sit down and speak with Dominic Mazzotta. And Jim, you've spoken to Dom quite a few times as well. But this was the first time we got to speak to him since his Bellator 135 debut. He had previously fought at 145. And
he was taking questions. He was answering questions this time.
Yeah, I didn't bring that up. I did bring up the weight cut. So yeah, Jim was alluding to a funny story. When we were in state college and covering Bellator 186, Jim was writing an article and he was talking about, something about Dom's jiu-jitsu skills. And he said to me, "Hey, what belt is Dom in jiu-jitsu?" And I said, "You know what? I don't really know. I'll text him." And it was the night before weigh-ins. And so I texted Dom and I said, "Hey, what belt are you?" And he answers black. And then about 11 minutes later, I get another text from him that says, "I'm done answering questions." The funny thing is, when he answered black, he said that to me in his answer by just answering one word, black. Like, I knew he wasn't in the mood to talk, and so I wasn't going to ask him any more questions. I didn't intend to anyway, but I knew that wasn't even an option at that point. But he stressed that to me. So the weight cut was, and we talked about that as well. So here is our interview. You weren't there. Jim Sahara was a little under the weather the last couple of days.
A lot.
And by a little, I mean, he's a big baby. So here is that interview with Dominic Mazzotta.
How do I look?
You look great. MMA Fancast is here with Dominic Mazzotta, coming off of his big Bellator 186 victory. And Dom, it is so good to see you.
What's up, Ryan? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. You walked away with a black eye, didn't you?
Yeah, I got a couple stitches.
You've had a couple weeks to heal. I see that black eye is pretty much gone.
Getting better.
Oh, I couldn't tell if that's a shadow or not. It's looking good though, brother.
Getting there.
So, I want to. We haven't had a chance to catch up. I haven't had my Dom Mazzotta fill in a couple weeks now. So,
let it soak in a little bit.
Yeah, I was trying to give you some space. Let it kind of, So, let's talk about your fight. You had a very dominating performance. We talked about, you don't really visualize entire fights. Is that correct? Do I remember that right?
I mean, I don't think I ever really said it like that, but I don't watch film. I said that.
Yeah. Well, so had you visualized the fight before it took place?
Yeah, that was a fight. I pretty much thought it was going to go similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you couldn't have visualized it much better. I mean, that was as awesome and dominating of a performance as I would think you could expect.
Yeah, I was really excited about that performance, and it's sometimes it's the other way around, but when it goes that way, it's always nice, especially when you come out. I had the stitches, but other than that, just some sore elbows, and it's good when it comes out like that. So
talk to me about your last fight was at 145, and you'd fought both at 145, 135. Hadn't made the cut to a 35 in a little bit. How did that cut go? I think there was
yeah, I mean, it was bad as any cut to 35, and I just I think fought 35 one time last year, and I think it was in September. So it's been a while since I made 135, so I kind of forgot how bad it sucks, but it sucked just as bad as any time. And really, I just got to be more disciplined on my diet whenever I get getting closer to the fight. Now that I'm older, I think cutting 11 pounds when I was 26 was a lot easier than doing it now. I think I put on a lot of man muscle, and that is made it a little harder. But I think I can definitely make 35 for the rest of my career, though. No doubt about it.
Yeah. So you're gonna shoot for 35 and just getting used to that cut. You kind of know.
Yeah, I mean, I just got to be more disciplined on my diet. When I was down in Florida, I didn't have a scale down there, and I kind of think I just didn't gauge my weight at the right time.
Yeah.
So I did a good job when I came back, though. I had to take 2 weeks, and in that 2 weeks, I think I lost like 7 pounds, and then I did an 11-pound cut from there. So, but when I fought it like, I think I was like 53, 54 whenever I got back into the cage. So that's, I mean, as bad as the cut sucks, I go in back into the cage pretty dominantly heavy,
You looked. Go ahead.
I felt good. The weigh-ins for Bellator are early in the morning. So You know, I have, you know, almost 2 days to recover, 2 full days. So, you know, it's not too bad.
Yeah, you absolutely looked you looked really good in the cage. I wanted to ask you, because I haven't had a chance to catch up with you. After the fight, you looked like you were fired up and you were looking for someone specific. I don't know if that was Rich or who you were looking for, but you were looking for someone to you were fired up.
Yeah, well, I was asking for Mike. I said, you know, I want him to give me a mic, and I was looking for Rich. Yeah, I was looking for Rich to tell him that I wanted to Mike McDonald, and then they wouldn't give me a mic. I knew that they were gonna give me it, and I tried my best. But, and then, you know, I got to say it on the camera. You know, they bleeped. I said, you know, 4-letter word in there with it, but they bleeped it out. And then I got to see Rich after the fight. And I went up to him and Scott were sitting at the table. I went up to him and told him that I wanted to fight Mike. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I think he has a fight scheduled already, so I'm looking to just get a fight now.
So how does that kind of work? What works? How does that work next? Like, do you wait for them to contact you? Do you have your manager contact them? Like, what's the time frame of all that?
Yeah, we'll just stay in touch, you know, whenever they're looking for somebody, we'll say that we're ready, you know, which we always are. But, you know, if there's a big money fight coming up and we're not in it, you know, we'll tell them that we're ready for a replacement fight, you know, just anything. We'll always just stay in contact with them. But we'll find something soon. They'll get something for me.
Yeah, so if it's not Mike McDonald, if you had your choice, have you taken a look at the bantamweights in Bellator's division?
I don't know, Joe. I would like to fight Joe Warren. You know, he's somebody I always looked up to in sports. So I thought, you know, a legend. You know, I want a big fight. I'm ready for big fights. You know, Pitbull. I'd fight Pitbull. I'd fight any of them guys. You know, I want one of the top guys. I'm not getting any younger, you know, so, you know, anybody. It'd be nice to get a nice, easy fight, you know, another easy fight if they want to try to build me up. But, you know, I'm trying to make some money, so.
Yeah.
Big fights, I'm ready, you know, at 35. I feel like I'm, you know, especially working with Henry now, down at that camp. I think really I'm going to be unstoppable at 35, so I really want a big fight soon.
So with your contract with Bellator, is there a pay difference if you're on an undercard versus on the main card? Is there how do those differences work?
I mean, yeah, but that's there is, but you know, I don't want to talk about that.
No, you don't have to talk numbers. I mean, but you get more money to be on the main card.
Get more money being on the TV card, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, good.
I didn't take a pay cut to be on the undercard, but I wanted to be on it, so you know what I'm saying, I want, you know, but I still got another fight in the contract, so hopefully the next one's on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you like do searches and like do you follow the rankings and all that stuff?
I mean, not really. Some kind of. I just look at. I don't really know I don't know the Bellator rankings now.
Yeah, I just did some searches. I just did some searches and was looking at not Bellator, but there's a site that ranks all the Bellator fighters. It's called scorecardmma.com, and they have you ranked as the number 7 Bellator bantamweight right now.
Nice.
So
anybody above that list, that's who I want to fight next.
There you go. Joe Warren's there, McDonald's there, obviously Caldwell, and sure, some good names for you to work your way up that ladder.
Nice.
Okay, so how you have fought, looking back at your career, your pro career, you fought like anywhere between 3 and 5 times a year. So you've been very active, and this year you're only going to get in 2 fights. How quickly would you ideally get back in the cage?
You know, I'm looking to fight again. in the cage January, February. But I'm trying to do a boxing match. Looking for a boxing match in Pittsburgh. Make my boxing pro debut. In December, I'm gonna look for something. But if I don't find something, then I'll look to get in the cage January, February.
So you have flexibility with other competing.
Yeah, with Bellator, you can fight if they allow you. If they don't have you on a court at amount of time, then you can do something else on the side.
But not in MMA. It has to be in.
I don't know. I think you can do MMA too. I think so.
Okay.
I think I can fight local MMA courts even.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'd just do boxing or kickboxing.
So what I was trying to kind of figure out what's your routine with your schedule. And I see you got right back in the training regimen I saw pictures on Facebook of you training with Mark, I don't know, the next week after the state college fight. So do you have a regular schedule, or do you have a lot of flexibility with your schedule, different people you're training with?
We pretty much, we have a pretty set schedule between me and Mike Wilkins. We just, we go back and forth between our gyms, and it's pretty much, one day I think we do 1 day a week here during the week, 1 day a week there, and then during weeks, and then I'll go there on Saturdays. We'll all go there. Isaac will come too on Saturday mornings. I teach there, and then where'd you go? So I teach there, and then we do sparring. That's the day everyone comes, and then but I pretty much have a schedule. Besides going with my coaches, I got stand-up coaches that I'll kind of mix it up with whenever their schedule fits. But I got a routine that I do. Yeah.
So you're at Stout 2, maybe 3 times a week, roughly?
During camp, it just depends really, but sometimes I'm there 2 days. Yes, 2 days during the week sometimes, and then on the weekend, 1 day.
Yeah.
And then, they're there a day or two, they come down here. But it's not just Mike, there's some other guys that come, and it just depends on,
So how many guys out of Matt Factory are taking fights or taking MMA fights?
Just me right now, I guess. Me and Francis, of course, Dempsey. Dempsey's, I think, I don't know if he said what he's doing yet, if he's retiring or if he's going to look for a fight. But, pretty much me and Francis right now. Our amateurs, we had Dylan Weston, but we've been just focusing on me right now.
Do you have any? Are there any young guys in the?
Right now coming up, we not really, not anybody that really were MMA, but jiu-jitsu. We got some guys coming out. Noah DeVore. Is one of the top guys in the East Coast competing right now. So we got a different array in our wrestling. It's always we got guys pumping out the wrestling. So we got a little bit of everything there. But MMA, we just pretty much focusing on me right now. But like I said, we got everybody. We all work together. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely.
Has 5-6 fighters. It's just they're just from other gyms that we're kind of all just training together.
Yeah, you guys do a good job of not being segregated in your own fight camp. It helps all of you out, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what Mark's gonna do. He'll probably fight out of the Matt Factory now. I don't know what's gonna go on with him.
So he might not stay with.
That's what I mean. So he'll probably stay. It's gonna be called the Academy or something, I think now. So I don't know exactly what he's gonna do.
Yeah, it in hindsight, it looks like you guys were kind of hinting at that or something was up when I had talked to you guys at the Mat Factory. That he kind of knew he was trying to get that deal arranged.
Yeah, there was
It was in the works.
yeah, there was a couple things in the works, but I'm glad it worked out for them. Clymer should, that's a position Clymer should be in.
Yeah, we are so excited for you and with your Bellator career like starting to take off. And
I'm excited too, dude. I mean, it's been a long time coming. Nothing's been been easy for me in this sport. So I had to earn every inch of the way that I got. So I'm glad it finally started to pay off, and I think that 2018 is going to be a big year for me in Bellator and get me close, if not getting the title.
I solidly believe that you're going to be a force to be reckoned with in this division, and a real tough guy for any one of those guys to handle. You had a great opportunity today. You had a speaking engagement. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the Lower Borough Flyers are the football organization that's been active here, for I don't even know how many years, like 150 million years they've been doing football here. I had the honor of speaking in front of the kids there today. It was it's real good experience, humbling, of course. The kids always love giving back to the kids, and Flyers, I was part of the organization for a short time, but I was always around them and the football team. My friends played on it, and the coaches there, they do an awesome job. It's just nice to see a community of people that, stick together. They support me, I support them, and we all just try to do the best for the kids so that, everybody, the community can prosper.
That's great. You said something during, I watched the speech you gave, and it's a very quotable quote. You said, everyone that has ever done something great was told they couldn't do it before they did it. And I love that quote. Was that something you wrote, or was that recorded?
I don't know. I'm sure somebody probably have said it before me, but
you didn't get it from somewhere. You just kind of wrote that.
I just came up with it. I mean, it's probably been said by somebody else.
That's a great quote. I'm quoting it to you, Dominic. That Dominic Mazzotta quote: "Everyone that has ever done something great was told they couldn't do it before they did it."
It's true.
Good. I appreciate your time.
Steve Jobs would say.
What's that?
Sounds like something Steve Jobs would say, right?
Maybe. I so appreciate your time. Would you be interested in closing with a promo warning all of the bantamweights in Bellator?
No, don't make me do that right now.
Okay. I won't make you do it right now. But hey, that's going to be the next promo you give us. Okay. You're our promo hype man. You gotta,
But hey, I would like to say, I'm from. I don't know if you heard about the cop that got killed in New Kensington.
No.
But Brian Shaw, I know his members of his family. I know his dad and his brother, and just it's a terrible thing. And rest in peace to him. And everybody, please give your prayers to their family. He was a great guy. Just no one deserves that. And I don't think that. I have family members that are cops, and I just don't think that cops get the respect that they deserve and the pay that they deserve or anything in it. Just I commend our boys in blue, and I just want to say, and keep Brian Shaw in your prayers if you haven't heard about the tragedy. If you are.
I will definitely look out, and I appreciate that. That, and I'm sure his family will appreciate those prayers. And that's definitely heartbreaking. And we'll definitely get that prayer circle going, brother.
Yeah, man. All right, thanks for having me, Ryan.
All right, brother. Nice talking to you. Nice catching up with you. Looking forward to what's next.
Many more, right?
What's that?
Many more. We'll do dessert next time.
All right, sounds good, brother.
All right, see you later, guys.
Take care, bud. And that will just about wrap us up for this very, very special episode of MMA Fancast, brought to you by Octagon247.com. Jim, do you have any parting words for the listeners who are just heard from Scott Clymer, just heard from Dominic Mazzotta, and are getting ready for the last month and a half? Well, not quite a month and a half, but maybe 5 weeks of 2017. How do you part this show, Jim?
Just with those two guys, if you're looking for two good guys to follow who are going to do some good things, and by good I mean good things in the world of MMA and more specifically Bellator, these are two that you can probably hang your hat on. Scott Clymer is new to Bellator. Obviously, Dom Mazzotta is, but we know much more about Dominic Mazzotta. And we've seen him fighting a couple times in person. We know the type of game that he brings. And these are two guys that are exciting fighters. And if you're looking for somebody that is going to be positive both inside and outside the ring, you don't have to look any further.
Amen, brother. Well, we know you have Thanksgiving coming up, and so we wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family, enjoy the feast, enjoy the fellowship that comes along with Thanksgiving. Make sure you spend that time and enjoy that time with your families, and that wraps us up. So for this 50th episode of MMA Fancast, this is Ryan Middleton signing off. On behalf of Jim Saharamouni, saying God bless and good night.